Hello everybody, I know you're not used to seeing me wave like that, but yeah, I'm sort of trying something new with my music reviews. You might notice that it is March of 2026, and if you watch my regular Music of the Week stuff, you might notice I'm not doing that anymore. There's a good reason, I just didn't want to. There you go, that's your reason. But I'm sort of trying to retool Catch Up Cares into something, and I'm going to go over all the albums. I have the stuff on my phone here, which is what I have in my hand. I'm gonna go with the albums not all the albums I listened to in January, because I listened to a lot. Not all of them made it to the stuff I really liked, but I'm gonna go over the stuff I did enjoy, but go a bit more in depth into the stuff I really want to talk about. The stuff. So yeah, these are the albums I really liked, and then we're gonna get to the ones I really really like. So we have Alter Bridge's self-titled, Capillary with In Remembrance, Double Life with Please Delete This, Allende with Zerfall, Feels Like Heaven with Within Dreams, Fersen with Fortitude, I hope I'm saying Fersen correctly, Glamour of the Kill with Vengeance, Creator with Crushers of the World, Medicinal with Buildings Abandoned, Mother Vulture with Cartoon Violence, Robbie Williams with Britpop, Ronco with Respect the Hustle, I Won't Be Your Dog Forever, that is a interesting title, Slut Intent with Slut World, Soen with Reliance, Violent Way with A Need for Something More, and finally Zach Bryan with Heaven on Top. The main reason that's on there is because a friend of mine asked me to listen to it, and I did a written review for him, so shout out to Ricky on the off chance he's watching this. I know he's not, he's too busy and too Canadian. So, I'm going to go over the stuff I quite enjoyed. First of all is Alter Bridge's self-titled. I'm someone who got, a bit late into Moles Kennedy's stuff. I knew about him, obviously, thanks to being a pro wrestling fan and, Metalingus being one of the best pro wrestling themes ever. But I've never fully listened to. No, I've done Alter Bridge. No, it was the other band that he was in. I can't remember the bloody name of it. Text will pop up. But I really like this. I don't know why I'm looking here. I've got my page open for the doc on my laptop as well. But I really enjoyed it. It was some really good, old school feeling, proggy leaning hard rock with tons of charisma and personality, and also more depth than I was expecting. And also, yeah, Moles Kennedy, bloody great vocalist, bloody great guitarist as well. Everyone's just really on form here. I like the production value of it a lot, and even though it's quite a long album, it's over 50 minutes if memory serves. It is something that gets a lot done within that time frame. It's not waiting time, and it's got some really good excuses and some good energy to make excuses for the proggy stuff. And there's no dips in that either. There really could have been, which was a bit of a worry for me. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the first albums I heard, obviously, because I go by order of band name usually. So really, really good start and just some really good hard rock. I don't really have a lot else to say about it. I just think it's really good if you're an Alter Bridge fan. And considering this is my first full Alter Bridge album, even though they did. Again, there's another project, the name of which is fucking escaping me. But, yeah, if you like that stuff, you might like this stuff as well, because I enjoyed it. It was really good. It's really good rock music. Next is Elende with Zerfall. I don't know if I'm saying any of that correctly. I believe this is a German band. This is a bit of post-metal, black metal leaning stuff. And honestly, I was completely caught off guard by it. I found out about it through a YouTube ad, because YouTube ads are always good, and I was really drawn in by the animated music video. I don't know who did the animation for that. I don't think it was a band member, but it was a really good looking video. And it fits well with the album cover, which you are going to be seeing, by the way, and I'm sorry if it looks a bit gross. But it feeds into the main album's theme of, parasitism. Parasite. Ist. Whatever the word for that is. But the overall feeling that, as life goes on, you have a lot more to criticize about what's going on in the world. There's stuff about political things, but there's also a theme of dementia running through it, and the feeling that going through it is a gross thing living in your head that slowly takes over. Themes of loss and pain, and it's really good mixes of the personal along with what's happening right now. It helps that the production and instrumentation are fucking beautiful. There's some really, really nicely handled stuff, and as someone who is a fan of post-metal and black metal and post-black metal as well, it does feel like it can be trapped within just wanting to be a really heavy and ethereal weird genre, but the fact that this one adds emotional weight to it and is accompanied by great vocals and, again, a really good mixing as well, really helps with the pacing. There's, again, not really many complaints I have about it, although from what I just looked up before I recorded this bit, it does end with two covers. So maybe I should dock points for that because it's an 11-song album, but the intro doesn't have any lyrics. It's like a 2.5 minute intro song, and then there's 8 actual songs, and then the last 2 songs are covers. So it depends on how you feel about that, but that aside, the pacing is still really, really good. It's just a really nice sounding album, even though it's got really, really harsh themes and harsh instrumentation. That is something you should prepare yourself for, by the way. And this was my first album by these guys, and they've been around for a fair bit, so yeah, if this is a band that you might have heard of or are interested in, I can recommend giving it a go. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Next, we have Glamour of the Kill with a Vengeance, and this is probably the most personal band to me in this episode because this is a band I'd known about before. I heard about them way back in like 2010 when they first came onto the scene with the first song I heard by them being Feeling Alive from their first album, The Summoning. And while I did enjoy that song at the time, looking back on it, the lyrics haven't aged as well. And that was from The Summoning in 2011, which was a solid album. Then they dropped Savages in 2013. They broke up in 2015, tried to come back a few times since then, and lead singer Davey Richards, uh, now I think that's his name, it's David something, but he formed a new band, which I actually did a Music of the Week review about a while ago, and that was pretty solid. But they came back fully last year and dropped their new album January this year, and if I can put it one way, you know the album that Bullet for My Valentine have been trying to make since Venom? Yeah, Glamour of the Kill did that, but just way fucking better. This is some top level, fucking gritty ass British metalcore with a very good emphasis on the metal bit. And it's weird because it's such a heavy album, but there's not many screams on it. And yeah, it's not like the band can't scream. The two guitarists for the band both scream because the lead singer plays bass. He doesn't really scream, although I like that he leans into his harsher register, which he always has, because I didn't really like his cleaner sounding one. When he leans more into his natural rasp, I think he sounds a lot better. And there is not a moment wasted. Holy hell! For their this is their first album in 13 years. I don't even think that they dropped an EP like in the time between. They are on fucking form here. The writing is so nicely layered. The instrumentation is fucking brilliant. The fact that Mike Kingswood, who is the band's lead guitarist, he gets to do more guitar solos. I always thought he was a bloody great guitarist. The fact that he gets to show that more makes me really happy. Drumming's really great as well, obviously. The performances and chemistry are kind of off the charts. Really good lyrical themes to deal with, like things of, death and corruption. And the cover looks fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie, something that really endears me to a good album is if the cover looks badass. And yeah, the cover for this album looks fucking badass. I don't really have much else to say. Just go listen to it. Really good lyrics, good writing, good pacing. I will admit, the last song does sort of feel like it doesn't go as all in as the rest of the album does. And considering how long the album is, that can feel a bit like a tiny bit of a detriment, but it's still a really good ending, and the second half of the song is actually pretty bloody good. But it can take a while to get there. I feel like the overall pacing on it isn't handled as well as the rest of the songs on the album are, but the road getting there is a lot of fun. It's a very fun album. It's got some really good choruses, just fucking anthemic bangers, mate. So if you want those anthemic bangers, mate, recommend it. And yeah, just listen to Glamour of the Kill anyway. It's nice to have them back at all. So I'm happy about that. Next, we have Kreator with Crushers of the World, and I think of every band in this video that I'm talking about, this is the one that's been around the longest. I mean, they formed in 1982. They've got skin in the game, to say the least. In fact, they're a band that are credited, and thanks to the Wikipedia page I looked up shortly before recording this bit, they're a band that are credited with making thrash metal, black metal, and death metal, who are both re-emerging genres, a much more mainstream thing in Europe, specifically their country of Germany. And yeah, much like with Vengeance by Glamour of the Kill, this album just kind of fucking rips. This is my first Kreator album, and I've heard about them before, but I've never listened to them. I think this is a brilliant jumping on point, which is not bad considering that, again, the band are 44 years in. This is their 16th album. They might have broken up at the time between, probably, but yeah, no, this is some really good stuff. Just some fucking brutal and heavy and, again, weirdly fun thrash metal with really good mellow death and melodic blackened death elements, but it is mostly the thrash that thrives. And as a genre, thrash metal has always been a genre I've never been super keen on. I feel like it can feel a bit samey. Same with death metal, to be honest. At least black metal can have interesting things going for it. But if you mix genres well enough, you get some really good shit. there is some pretty solid themes, mostly related to anti-religion and anti-politics stuff. You know, the stuff that I usually quite like. Good shit indeed. But it is primarily the production. Like, it just feels like it harkens back to a specific era of thrash metal, but captures it in a modern way. It's just handled quite nicely. The pacing does not let up. This does fix the pacing problem I sort of had with GOTK's album, which is that it actually ends on a much better note, to be honest, although I will admit it feels a bit more consistent, like, in a sort of okay way, I guess is the phrase I'm looking for. Like, it feels like more of the creators' songs on Crushers of the World blur together than on Glamour of the Kill, but I think it ends better than Glamour of the Kill's album does, you know? But the album also just still rules anyway. Great vocals from lead singer like, that's the nickname he goes by. I don't know his actual first name. And despite having Germanic, yeah. Despite having Germanic ancestry, I'm not really good at pronouncing German stuff. Names. I'm just not really good at names. I should have given more than a cursory glance before recording any of this, or given any glance at all, to be honest, but what can you do? But, yeah, no, it was really, really fun stuff, good themes, really good pacing, solid production, and yeah, nothing really bad going on. There's a reason this band has been around for as long as they have, although I didn't know this. Frederick Leclerc, I hope I'm saying that correctly, the former bassist for Dragon Force, has been the bassist for this band since 2019. I didn't know that. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, he does a really good job because he was good in Dragon Force as well, even though you can hear him over the really, really nicely produced guitars that Dragon Force usually has. So, yeah, if you're a Creator fan, give this band a go. I didn't really fully know what to expect, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, especially from an older band, and usually I'm a bit iffy on, like, older bands, so I'm just coming around to it for the first time, but again, if you've heard of these guys and you don't know which album to start with, I highly recommend giving making Crushers of the World your first album by them, because it was my first album by them, and I proper liked it. Next is maybe the weirdest one, probably the weirdest album of the year that I quite like. Ronka with Respect the Hustle, I Won't Be Your Dog Forever. This is sort of a noise rock, noise punk, hardcore leaning thing, and if I could describe it, it would be like... So one of my favourite albums of 2024 was Half Divorced by Pissed Jeans. It reminds me a bit of that, but with less whimsy. It's a bit darker and more twisted in terms of how it deals with themes of, like, relationships and self-struggle and loss. But, like, in a way, it has a similar theme that Half Divorced has, which is, you know, being dragged through a world that's brutal and is going to kick you while you're fucking down. But even though you've got all this, like, gravel sticking to your face, you've got blood seeping everywhere, you're missing a tooth, likely... You're still smiling through it because you made it through the fucking worst of it. This album feels a bit like that, but in a more, like, bogged down and gritty way. It's all with the instrumentation being brilliant as well. The guitar and bass work, especially on this, are brilliantly produced and really, really well written as well, and just nicely played. I don't know much about the band members, but they all do a pretty good job. I like the vocals a lot. I think there's just something about the nice sludgy element that's added that make the rhythm section especially really tight on the groove section. But the same thing, sort of, maybe, I don't know. It's pretty nicely put together. It doesn't waste time with certain songs, like it knows when a song should end and just, like, cuts it off after it should end, which is really, really good. Yeah, just really smart pacing, a really clever album, dealing with some pretty good and personal themes. And also, the album cover is weird. I'm sorry you had to look at it throughout this entire section, but yeah, it's a weird ass album cover. And finally, we end with a band called Violent Way and their album A Need for Something More. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is a debut. I think Ronka's new album is their second go. This might be Violent Way's second go. This is more of a pop-punky rocky band with a more focus on the punk rock, and yeah, it's just fun. I don't really know how to describe it. I just really enjoyed this one, man. It's just super catchy. It's got really good punk riffs, and, you know, it's appropriately angry at the world as all punk should be, because the world is a fucking state and a half right now. But yeah, and just really good vocals. I like the instrumentation. It's really well paced too. I think it's the shortest album that I'm going over in full. In full. I think it's the shortest album I'm bringing up with the ones I really, really, really liked. And yeah, it's really good. And this is a newish band to me, so if you need some new punk rock that agrees with how angry you are at the world, I recommend giving it a go. I liked it quite a lot. I will say the production does feel a bit too stripped back on occasion, but it's still really well handled. Pacing's nice, performances are really good, and really good writing with a more positive lilt than I was expecting. So yeah, if you need some really good punk rock that, yes, is rightfully angry at the world, but ultimately does have a more optimistic lean than I'm used to even for punk rock, I recommend giving it a go. I really enjoyed this one. So that will about do it. I'm sorry that this is the first video in a while that you're seeing my actual face, and I apologise for you having to see my face at all. But hopefully you enjoy this new format. I'm trying to do new things, like in terms of these kind of videos. Not so much my Let's Plays, they're going to be how they usually are, same with my EVED stuff, but I'm trying to do something new with these and make the editing a bit less of a hassle on myself, so yeah, hopefully it turns out well. We'll see. I don't know. This is my first video even trying to do that. So yeah, I don't know what next thing you'll see me like this for will be. I do have plans. We'll see what those plans wind up being. But I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you all whenever the hell I see you next. Because I don't know. But give all these albums a spin, especially. Yeah, I'll see you all. Yeah. I already said that bit, I'm saying it again, I don't need to say it again, but I'll see you when I see you, and as always, thank you for watching, you're awesome, bye bye.